So we were doing I think we went somewhere with her, and then we came back through global entry, and then it was like she needs global entry as well.
Yeah,
and she's a baby. So our children have passports, which is another joke too, because just getting the child a passport is like
when
the
they're
biggest
babies.
joke ever. So you're just holding the baby up and just trying to hold their head and take a picture. It's kind of the funniest thing ever. So we had a global entry, and I remember this because when we got a signing, our oldest daughter, global entry picture, she was sleeping. Yeah. So she has her global entry pictures knocked out. But like I pulled you out of hat, pull you out of bag from out of mag if you want that. Pull up in the slab and pull off with you in my lap. Top down. Hey, welcome to Travel Tuesday Happy Hour, where we interview dope people doing dope things from around the world. And as y'all can see, I have a special co-host this season. My queen, tell them who you are, please.
I'm Jackie.
Okay, Jackie. What you do, Jackie?
Oh, I do quite a few things.
Okay.
You want me to list them here?
We can hold on to that. It might be a long list. We don't want to. You got guests.
My biggest job is being his fiance.
Okay, that's the best job, I think. This is hard work. You don't make this look good easily now, right? Now, talk about hard work. We got two of the hardest working people on this screen right now, right? We got Doctor and Doctor. Can y'all tell us who you are and what you do? You want to start?
You can start.
Okay. My name is Alade McKens. I am a higher education professional at a higher education institution where I work closely with student, faculty, and staff. Keep it real dry and plain and simple.
My name is Dr. Sudhi McKens, and I'm an OBGYN.
Nice. So how did y'all meet? Well, we met in 2004. Mm-hmm. I met Sudhi here at Cornell University, where she went to undergrad, and I went to undergrad in Binghamton. And during that time, I was just traveling a lot, going from place to place, party to party, And I met her in her dorm room.
Yes. I had just crossed into Delta Sigma Theta, sorority incorporated, and Alade is an Omega. And we were getting ready to go to the party, and I was sitting in the room, and it was like him and his line brothers running around the dorm. And he came in my room, and I was like, there's a man in my room. And that's how we met.
Wow. So from there's a man in my room to now family.
Yeah. I need more steps in there. Who made the first move? Who back? Who? What happened?
Well, I'm reformed now. So back in the day, I used to be very
good disclaimer.
Very flippant with the mouth. So I was just, talking crap and, just just talking garbage, and just inviting myself, into the space, and that's kind of how I move. I'm like, just walk into spaces and act like I own it. So that's what happened.
No, it's kind of a long story because at first we were just friends. And because, my profiles were like, don't date any Omegas. They're crazy. So I was like, I can't talk to you. So, we were friends and we dated other people and then we, reconnected. And so it was like over a series of years. But yeah, we know each other since 2004.
Yeah, but I think what is important about the story is that she was continuously in school. And I went back home to work. So our relationship, whatever it was at that time, through the time, was long distance for a long time. And then when she finally finished school, I left to go pursue my PhD, and I left the state. So we've pretty much been long distant for a very, very long time. Whether it be through friendship, relationship, fooling around, and even through engagement and, and then marriage.
Now, do you think that helped strengthen your bond? Because you mentioned friendship a couple times, right? Did the friendship become your base for your relationship?
Yeah, I would definitely say yes, especially because when you're not seeing the person every single day, you really have to talk to them a lot. And that kind of takes away the physical aspect of it. And it becomes more of like getting to know the person. So I would definitely say yes. And it just made it, I feel like the years went by faster because whenever you would reunite, it was just so much sweeter because you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen him for so long. Whereas, you know, when you see the person day in and day out, you know, you can really kind of take them for granted. And so I think it definitely helped strengthen our relationship.
Yeah, I would agree and say the same. I think a part of it was just the mere fact that, you know, we went through so many different things in our lives separately. And, you know, even if we weren't like really serious with each other or really engaged in conversation, like I think life moments had us get closer together. So we was very supportive of each other when we went through a series of different things, you know, through one of my close friends passing away. She was there when she got injured and was like in a wheelchair. You know, it was like there was just so many different stories that we shared that we were there to support each other. So to say the least, we was shooting in the gym, you know, with each other for real.
Wow, that's super dope. I appreciate you bringing a drink, tea or not. It works. It works.
I got my drink, man. Listen.
So a lot of you spoke about traveling a lot. What triggered you wanting to travel as much as you did?
Yeah, so I've wasn't a real big traveler. I always had, you know, inspirations to travel. You know, just a local guy, you know, not leaving the neighborhood type, you know, friends never traveled, never had any people who was just like traveling folks. But funny enough, my mother, she traveled very young, you know, from like the age of 14, she went to Ghana. It was like her first trip and went and embedded herself with the Akan people and got initiated with the Akan tribe out in Ghana, and then Senegal and then Nigeria and so on and so forth. And it was more so her cultural background that she gained a lot of knowledge and wisdom and understanding and identity in terms of her cultural experiences through travel. And then my sisters later down the line being dancers, you know, and dance troops, etc., traveled to Senegal, etc. But I never looked at them and never thought about them as someone who was right there who can give me the tools to travel. And I was just like looking at my friends. So for me, the beginning of traveling was really just, you know, kind of leaving the state. Then thereon was more so my most meaningful trip was going to Kenya. And I was supposed to go with a group in Brooklyn. You know, I was living in Brooklyn at the time. And they decided to cancel the trip because it was civil unrest in Kenya. And I was like, what? And I was kind of gathering the troops up and my friends, and everyone was like, I'm not going because they were scared. And my friend and I, close friend Bernard, who was also my frat brother, he was like, yo, let's just go. We'll figure it out. And we went and figured it out and kind of connected with some folks who knew some folks. And it was just like real organic. And we had the most amazing trip, like on the president's ground. We did so much legal and illegal stuff. It was just like, it was like dangerous. Like it was stuff we were doing now as I look back at it.
I didn't know that.
We were just reckless. Like we was just so excited to kiss the continent. You know, I think most Black folks is just, you know, their inspirations is just to get back home, right? So that was our journey. And we did like a GoFundMe and all this other stuff, and people supported our trip, and we went.
Nice. And Queen, I'm not sure if there's a candle to be held next to that experience, but, you know.
I have always traveled. My family's from Sierra Leone, so we always went back home. Like my dad's sisters lived in London. Like, so travel to me was like, I grew up doing it, and I didn't realize that, that wasn't like children didn't have passports. Like when I went to college, I met people that didn't have passports. I was like, you have a passport? Like that was weird to me, because that's not how we grew up. And I don't know. I also am very like big into astrology. So I'm a Sagittarius, and we love to travel. It's like, just put me on a plane anywhere. And so in school, I always wanted to do study abroad, but because I was pre-med, I couldn't. So then when I went to medical school, I went and did work in India and in Ghana. And I lived there for like a month each location. And I just love travel, like any new experience, like the airport is like my most amazing place to be because there's so many possibilities, like people everywhere. I'm like, oh, I wonder where they're going, what they're going to do. And so that was, it's like, and me traveling, I guess when we started dating, I'm like, well, where are we going? Like, let's go here. Like, let's go to this place. Let's go to that place. And so I think that kind of also like, continued to spark the book because I'm like, I don't stay in the United States. So where are we going?
So what was your first trip together? What was your first trip
trip together? Oh my God. Do I even remember that? Was it Belize? No. International?
Oh my God. Domestic or just together. Like you guys were like, you know what? We're just going to go on this road trip or we're going to.
And we know you did a part of your relationship, a long part of your relationship, long distance. So not like a visit.
Yeah.
Your respective places were, but your first trip together.
Oh my God. I really don't remember.
Like we decided to go somewhere together, not because something's going on.
Well, no, not because we were visiting each other.
Oh.
Was it like Colorado? No,
I think that was later down the line. But man, I don't even know, to be honest.
You're trying to catch up to y'all now. Like I thought we was good.
I think it was Belize.
I think, because if I could sit here and say that we actually like planned to go somewhere together and like share an experience, and it wasn't like someone's wedding or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. Or something that was pulling us there, I think I would say the thing that I can remember vividly is Belize. Like, because we shared an experience together. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like I'm coming to, your friend is getting married or my friend's getting married.
Yeah, there was a lot of that too. Like a lot of destination weddings, Mexico, like, a lot of destination weddings. But I think for like just a trip for the two of us, I think it was Belize. Mm-hmm. I think.
Yeah, I would say that was the case. And because I was in school.
Yeah, me too. Right? Was I?
I think he was just finished with school. I think he was in residency. But we decided to go. The reason why I remember this trip as a trip that was just more like just us, because we was just doing like real random cliche like couple stuff, like riding bikes together and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like just doing stuff like, we're gonna go and go to the waterfall and cross over. Though was that somewhere else?
No, that waterfall. No, but we did ride bikes together.
Where was the waterfall?
We stayed. It must be thinking either St. Lucia.
I think Lucia, but Belize. Yeah. Belize. That was.
So who planned Belize? Who said Javon?
I plan all the trips.
Belize.
I plan all the trips.
Well, she does plan all the trips. And she is a very meticulous type A personality. So that's good. You know what I'm saying?
So she knows what's going on.
No,
that's the one thing. I know somebody asked him that too. They're like, oh, so did she pack your bag? He's like, no.
She packed my bags.
He's very particular about his clothing. So I could never pack his bag.
No.
He would never be pleased with whatever I packed. He'd be like, what is this? I don't wear this together. So he packs the bag, but then I do everything else.
No, I mean, and I think there's a reason why, right? And I'm going to keep it a buck with y'all. So the reason why I think, I would love to do things, but at the time, I have no money. So I love planning stuff and curating things. And for me, I just feel like if I don't have complete control, right, then I'm going to just let go. And I'm a laid back kind of guy too, but she's very good at planning and, and figuring it out. Ask me a couple of questions. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. We cool. And then I just ride the wave. She's really good at it though.
Okay. So do you guys have like the most memorable trip that you guys have gone so far?
So Belize was the first. You'll agree that this was your first planned trip together, just a couple. What was the one that's the most, hands down, most memorable?
Regardless if it was like destination wedding, somebody's birthday, what have you.
Yeah.
I think we've had this discussion before, and I think it changes. We got married. So I would say I would have to say pick two things. So we went back to Freetown for Christmas, Sierra Leone, and that's where he proposed. And then I had my traditional wedding that like an hour after.
Yeah, proposed and got married the same day in Sierra Leone.
Like the whole thing, like traditional wedding, whatever. My mom knew, my sister knew, my brother knew. I didn't know any of this was happening. And at that point, I think we had been dating for like 6 years or so, something long. And he always used to be like, don't worry, when it happens, it's all going to be in the same weekend. I'm like, whatever, you need to put a ring on it. Like, I was like, anyway, it's taking forever. So he was like, it doesn't matter because once I put the ring on, we're just going to get married, like whatever.
And I told her, I said, we're going to get married. I said, you're going to propose and, I'm going to propose to you and then we're going to get married the same day.
Right.
She was like, you can't do that. I was like, all right.
So like before this happened, there was like a flight deal to Italy, to Milan. So we had already booked our trip. We were going to Italy the March following that. Mm-hmm. So I didn't realize that like Italy trip was essentially our honeymoon because we got married like that December. So we did the traditional wedding. We came home and then literally just got married in my mother-in-law's living room with my pastor, just our siblings, our parents, and like 2 friends. So like the whole thing was like a 2-week, like the engagement, wedding, 2 weeks. So I would say that was obviously a memorable trip. And then Italy was because it was like our honeymoon without us knowing that we were booking our honeymoon. And it was just an amazing trip. Like the architecture, the food, we hiked Cinque Terre where I thought I was going to die. I mean, it was just crazy. Like it was so much fun, so beautiful. We bought leather jackets, like in Florence. Like it was just a really nice trip.
Yeah. Well, I was balling out of control in Italy, huh?
No, I didn't even know though. Everything was cheaper. Like
we literally was eating like sandwiches and drinking wine on the corner. Like just
$5.
It's just like, all right, we're going to just eat pizza and drink shots of espresso.
It was amazing.
Live.
Yeah,
that's it. It was like, whatever, and we made it work. But I think my most memorable trip was it wasn't all the good glamour and gold, but I think it was just kind of meaningful. It was Ghana. I like Ghana. Let me tell you why. We were planning to get married in Ghana, right?
Or have the wedding celebration.
Have the wedding in Ghana. So we already knew that was a plan. We was serious about it. I even got like my wedding band rings with like Thinker symbol, one of the Thinker symbols that I wanted to put on it. And it was just like a series of steps. So we were like, all right, we was going out there with a plan to go see venues and talk to people and kind of connect the dots and put it all together. And it was like a short trip. But it was so dope. Like, cause we made it work. Like we was out there hustling, trying to figure out whether we want to, have the wedding. And then we was just like,
we did some like sightseeing. Cause I had been to Ghana before by myself.
And I hadn't been.
And he hadn't been there. So I was like, oh, we got to go to this. This is like, we literally were there for a week. And while we were looking at venues, I was trying to like show him the places that I had gone before that I loved. So it was like a really quick and dirty trip, but like really
it was
nice.
And I think it was cool for me because I was just like, everything for me, my trips, I like to have like some type of educational experience, something I'm learning, some insight to where I'm going, with the common folks, not like, just some random. But I think that was a good trip for me as well.
Okay, awesome. So now that you guys have little ones, how do you guys travel with the little ones? Like that takes a little more planning than just we're gonna go here, right? So what does that look like?
Trip?
Yeah. So,
I mean, I'll say this. I always said that kids are not going to like slow us down. Cause I think a lot of young couples or couples that don't have children, like always afraid, like, oh my God, I love to travel. And I'm like, so you can still travel. Like, it's just going to be a different trip. Like, just bring your baby with you. And that was our whole thing. We're like, well, we're going to go and she's just going to come with us. So now we have 2 daughters. But when we had our first daughter, Asani, they travel for free until they're 2. So we were like, she's definitely coming everywhere, because once they're over 2, that's a full seat, like a full adult price seat for a little butt. So we're gonna make use of this. So I think the main thing is like realizing that. So before, like when we went to Belize, we like to stay off the beaten path, and we stayed in like a village that was like closer to like African ancestors, and it was like not as accessible, but it was fine because it was just us. But then when we had Asani, we were like, okay, well, we can't really stay in some random place anymore. Like it has to be either a smaller hotel that has, amenities for children,
right,
or, some family friendly type place. So it was, where we stayed became different. How we traveled became different. Like as far as, okay, we have to bring the travel stroller, we have to bring, and I was breastfeeding. So I'm like, I have to bring a cooler, like I have to bring my pump. I have to find out if the hotel has a kitchen so I can freeze the breast milk, like all these things that you don't really think about when it's just the 2 of you. Obviously packing is that's like another podcast. Like we can't.
So we had a couple earlier that mentioned a snack suitcase. Did you guys do a snack suitcase?
We have like the snack bag that we would bring on the plane.
There's always a snack bag.
And then we would put the other snacks in the suitcase because they're things that your kids.
There's a lot of steps, just to say the least, right? Is a lot of steps. But we are like travelers, right? So we're like, we want to make sure that we have what's the thing called when you like skip the line?
TSA pre-check.
Yeah, not pre-check, but what's the other one? Like
global entry.
Global entry. There you go.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just like signing up. I don't know what I'm signing up for.
I was like, you need to sign up for this. You need to go to this interview.
Right. So global entry. So we were doing I think we went somewhere with her, and then we came back through global entry, and then it was like she needs global entry as well.
Yeah,
she's a baby. In Mexico. So our children have passports, which is another joke too. Because like just getting the child a passport is like
like when they're babies.
Joke ever. So you're just like holding the baby up and then just like trying to hold their head and take a picture. Right? It's just kind of the funniest thing ever. So we had the global entry, and I remember this because when we got Asani, our oldest daughter, global entry picture, she was sleeping. Yeah. So she has her global entry pictures knocked out. But there's so many steps and there's so many things to consider and prepare yourself for. So I think in our experience, we just was like, and we're just both like, I guess like hustlers, like we just be moving and like just going. So like just like
can't be scared because some kids will
just going, breaking down the stroller, who's doing what, who's holding who, this, that, and the third. And it's like it's always something. Then you're like fearful, because you don't know what to expect from the child when they first get on the plane, and then you're like, it's just so many steps, and it's an experience.
I would say one thing that happened to us that was hilarious is when we brought Asani to St. Lucia. I think she was 6 months, and it was carnival. And I love a good carnival, a good fete. And I was like, we cannot bring her back the next time we come because we had to be back. They have bedtimes. So, usually you're out chilling at the hotel bar. We had to go up in the room. So like now you're chilling in your hotel room, like looking at all the people have fun. So we brought her in at like 7:00, put her to bed because you don't want to keep with your routine so they're not like too cranky. And, we're just relaxing. You can sit on the balcony and look. And I'm like looking at people. We're like hearing the parties. Yep. And then the next morning we're having breakfast and everyone's coming in covered in paint. And
we're like, damn.
Like, man, we missed out.
Do y'all ever bring a grandparent or like a family member like as a babysitter? Be like, look, you got this free trip. You got kids. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, we did that.
Who's the go-to third adult?
My mom.
My mom, for sure. And because my mother is actually taking care of my grandmother. So it's like, so everybody's, when you come from these families, everyone's taking care of each other and helping each other and assisting each other. But Her mom is definitely the OG. She holds it down.
And then we would go on trips with other young parents. With like, we have a bunch of friends who have kids around the same age. Mm-hmm. And so if my mom can't come, then one of our friends' mothers would watch, because they were all like babies, and they like just put them to sleep. And then obviously we'll just sit here and make sure like everybody's okay if anybody wakes up. So that's helpful too. If you have friends that also have kids around the same age, and we all took them. I don't think you came on this trip with me. It was like the moms took the daughters to Miami, and we stayed at the Fontainebleau with the kids.
So we went. So all the fathers were at a conclave convention for my fraternity. So the mothers were in Miami.
We're like, well, you guys gonna go out? We're gonna go out too.
So then we see the children. We see the children in like cabanas, like VIP. They're like infants. We're like, damn, they're having a good ass time.
We're like, we're outside.
And we're roughing it, Omega style, just in it. So we was just it was good. That was a good look too. But we also went with both of our parents to Disney World, which is a whole nother podcast. That is a whole nother trip. But we went with them. And that was cool as well, to have both grandparents in the building.
Okay.
What have you learned about each other as a couple based on your travel experience or your travel personality, behavior, patterns, habits?
I feel like we travel very well together because we're very similar. Like, we get up early. Like, some people... I mean, I know vacations to relax, but it's to also explore. So we like to get up early, to see things, but then also not have it like too packed. Like, you don't want to plan everything for every single day. So we learned that about each other. I think also that we're pretty like laid back. Like, it doesn't take much. Like, we don't need a lot. I like one or two educational things, something like, and then something like fun. And then we could just like lay on the beach and like sleep. What else did we learn about each other?
I think there's a healthy balance between us two. And I think it's more because of our personality types. I guess the things that keep you together kind of, we travel with that as well. So you go, to these places, and then you're like, because I'm pretty much laid back, and I trust her. So I'm like, all right, so whatever you want to do, let's go with the flow. Mm-hmm. And then I'm not like, you know how you go with some folks and you travel together, a crew, and there's always that one person that's like, yeah, I don't know, like, where are we going? What's happening? One of those folks.
They're not invited to my trips.
People that you like, I'm never going nowhere.
Yeah.
Those folks. So I'm not like that, right? So I try to, and she's not like that either. So we just go with the flow. And what's also good is that we kind of find things on the fly. We shift gears really easily. And but we do know when we're tapped out. It's like, all right, look.
Like, that's it. We're done.
It's the beach day.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not moving. So that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. What has your experiences been traveling while Black, as individual travelers and as a couple?
I think it depends on like where we were, and oh my God, this happens. So one of the things, this is like kind of not embarrassing, but so I like to upgrade my tickets because my knees hurt and I can't deal with coach a lot, right? Not to sound any kind of way. And I'll have my kids. One time we were going, where were we going? We had my mom too, my dad. We were going to Freetown for my grandmother's funeral. This is another trip. We were already married and I was pregnant. And they were like, okay, all the business class customers. So I'm coming and this guy is like trying to push the show out the way. I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, yeah, this is for business class. I was like, I know, that's the ticket that we have. Can you move out of the way? And this has happened from people that work for the airlines too.
Always. Like
when we're walking up, they're like, no, this is not for you.
This happened recently.
Yeah. They're like, this line is for first class passengers. I'm like, I know that.
You asked.
So that happens way more than I can count.
Before we go anywhere.
Like in the airport. And I'm like, why does this keep happening? Like, is it just because like we look like pretty normal? We're not like high maintenance. Like we're just like, so that people always assume. And I'm like, I don't understand. I was like, well, if you had asked, what kind of ticket I had, I would have told you. And they were like, oh, sorry. So that traveling while Black, that happens a lot, like with people just assuming, and it's very upsetting because it's mostly from your own.
That's the main.
Do you get that coming back? Do you get that same treatment coming back?
No. Yeah, it's always stateside. Always stateside.
And then your folk. It'd be people who are Black, or that's the funny thing.
It's so frustrating.
And it'd just be like, no, the lines are like, no.
And it's because like literally we'll go in like tracksuits, like we're like chilling, like
we just cool.
And people look at Alade, they don't know. They're like, oh, look at this guy. He's so laid back and relaxed. He can't be. I'm like, I don't understand. I'm like, what is it about it? Why does this keep happening to us?
And she being hot.
And I get upset.
She gets upset.
I'm like, I'll be like, to somebody because I don't understand why you would assume like I can read, like I know what this line is for. So that happens a lot. And then I guess depending on like. We remember like when you went to Kenya versus Turkey, like how being Black was so like in Europe, you don't even realize that you're Black, which is strange. Like there's no like
you're American.
Yeah. Like it's more because you're American, not like because you're a Black person. And so I felt like, I'm like, wow, Europe is very different. It's not like a race thing. It's more of like, okay, we're European, you guys are American. So like, let's say I speak a little bit of French, Spanish. So one time we were in Morocco and because I spoke in French, they were way more receptive. But then when I asked them something in English, they were like, excuse you. And I'm like, this is so interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's like American, like they don't like Americans or whatever it is, but it's just very interesting when you leave.
Yeah, because I think in Milan they was asking us, so like it was like French.
Yeah, they were like, "Do you speak
French?" It was like it's just something else. But they didn't say like
American. They didn't say English. Yeah, it was like it was like, oh, what language do you speak? Like they didn't even think.
Or like where you were from, right? More so, not if you were Black or etc.
Yeah, it's like
they probably thought you guys were African and
or wherever, right? Or there was some people that were from there that look like us. So that was the thing too.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. When I was in Turkey, I was kind of interesting too. They thought I was a rapper or something like that. Everybody was like, yo, let's take a picture. They was like, yeah, right. And I was like, wow, this is real. So I had some, mixed emotions and feelings and experiences, right? Because I'm always like thinking about my identity and how I show up into places just because of who I am, no matter where I am. So it's just always super head conscious about that. So some things I might miss or some things I might be super hypersensitive to. So I might see things before they even happen. Right. And then you have the folks who are like, and I'm always feeling weird about people, even when they're super nice, I'm like, I don't know, right? He's doing that because I'm Black, right? So, and I think that's a part of it too, right? They see some Black folks with, who are traveling business class or, et cetera. Because I think the last trip we took, we had the children in business class too. Mm-hmm. So check this one out. We have 2 babies with big old seats, right? They got their little headphones on, their tablets, and they just chilling. I don't know. And then I know that everybody was just like walking by like, damn, right?
They were like,
damn, little babies is doing their thing, whatever. But it's I think traveling while Black is there's a lot of mixed emotions that come with it, depending on where you are and what you're doing.
Yeah.
You guys find it that I think you alluded to it, so I don't want to like kind of press the issue, but like, is it you're seeing us treated different here than we are wherever else you go? And then not even just on top of that, like African countries sometimes treat us a particular way.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned something about Kenya. I know we talked about Turkey, but what happened in Kenya?
Yeah.
Kenya, there's over like 44 different tribes, right? So you would see folks who look very much so like you and I, right? Like folks that different complexions, and I think there's a cultural thing that's there as well. But then, I think for me, it was more so the American part of it, because there's always the assumption that comes with it. but then it's also like Black Americans. So I think that there's another layer to that, right? Because it's like skin folk, but not kinfolk, right? So you, my brother, but you are, rich, or you have something, right? So then there's a different type of treatment. And then they can always try to pull the wool over your eyes, right? Because they could get away with it. So that's another thing too. So it's like this, the intersections from you being, a Black American in a continent, where primarily people are the same complexion as you, but they're not, same cultural, background as you. Then it gets a little different.
I remember when he came back from the trip saying like that he basically felt more comfortable in Turkey than in Kenya. And I was like, really?
Yeah, some cases.
Yeah. And it's like him and Bernard, he was like, yeah, it was like, nobody looked at them like, what are you doing here? Like, this is the American thing. Whereas in Kenya, I think that kind of the being American.
Also, it's the appearance. So now I'm a heavier guy, right? A bigger dude than most of the people in Kenya, right? And these guys' stature is very different from mine. So I look like some anomaly. I'm like, they like, oh, who's this guy? That's one thing. Then I have tattoos, right? That's another thing. And then, I'm also branded. That's a whole nother thing. And then I have hair on my head. This is like my third set of locks. So it's like at the time I had locks then, and they're looking at me like, this guy got hair. And then there's also the depiction behind hair, through history in terms of like some revolutionary Kenyans. They was looked at as Rastafarians, in terms of that background. And they are looking at me like, yo, this guy's a madman, right? Because you got to have something wrong with you if you have hair in your head. But my hair's groomed, so it's a little different. So now it's like these mixed emotions. So people do look at you differently, just from off the gate, like looking at you like, oh God, who's this?
Oh, wow.
Do you notice a difference in how people respond to you when you're by yourself versus when you're with your wife and kids?
Yeah, I think for us, everyone sees the children first when we travel with children, because they look at the children and they're like, oh, it's like, oh, the babies, right? I don't know if that is a benefit for us or anything like that. I don't think we like.
No, I mean, I think you particularly like as a Black man by yourself versus as a Black man.
Yeah, I think it's different. I think it's very much so different, because I think there's a different dynamic because I'm a father, rather than just a Black man, travel. So that's a whole nother piece of it. So people think they can talk to me a certain way. They might look at me a certain way. There might be some deference thing that might happen there, in terms of family dynamics. And I think that's a cultural thing as well. So there's a little bit different, I think. But, I don't really, it's not as often, but I think it's there.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Sudhi? Do you feel like you take different precautions or you are responded to differently when you're with your husband rather than when you travel alone?
I don't think so. I think the world is very, they don't consider Black women like a threat as much. I feel like they just look at you like, oh, whatever. Because I look young. I'm like unassuming. So I feel like people don't really pay much attention to me when I'm by myself. But if I have my kids, then they pay more attention. Like you said, they're like, ooh, yeah. Like when I'm by myself, I feel like people don't really like notice anything. But with the kids, they're always like, oh, how old are they? Are they twins?
Yeah, they will engage with her way more with the children than they will with me. But I'm not a very like welcoming person either. So I'm not like, come talk to me.
Like, try me if you want.
I'm like, nah, come over here.
Yeah.
Wow. So thank you for sharing that. And it's really important that we understand that, traveling while Black is a thing, not just driving while Black in the States. It's traveling while Black because, last season I had guests, specifically women, who certain parts of the country, they would never go back because how women were kind of like objectified, right?
Wow.
And not just women, just Black women, because in certain parts of the country, Black women are seen as exotic, right? So, some people feel like, I can hoot and holler and reach and grab
Oh my goodness.
Listen.
Yeah, the cat calls, the unnecessary comments. I feel like when I'm by myself, there's so much more I'm subjected to than when we're together. And that's traveling or walking to the bodega.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Right.
That is true.
And so now we're gonna kind of switch gears again. We've all, and you guys are still together. So, after the pandemic, congratulations, y'all made it, right? After 6 years, y'all were gonna make it.
And a whole quarantine, a whole
kids, right?
Right.
Now that all of that is kind of come to where we are today, what does your new normal look like as a family traveling?
Masks.
Well, mask is the thing. I had a different experience during the pandemic. She was really in the trenches of it all, really in face forward, facing it, in all of its iterations. Me, I was more so, I was in the house, right? I was in the house, I was teaching classes. I was, doing my admin stuff. And I have way more anxiety being around a bunch of people than she does, because she's just in the thick of it. So she's like, I'm protected. I'm not used to wearing a mask and stuff. I was in the house. So that is still something I think that affects me, whether I'm conscious of it or not, in some cases, because it's just like the anxiety around, feeling like I'm locked in. So that's one thing. Then also just the children, we were already hypersensitive about just how dirty things are. And just making sure we're just cleaning everything before they touch everything. And they touch everything. So then that's another part of it. It's just like making sure that we're protecting them and keeping them, out of harm's way, and that's just another layer, right? Because of the pandemic. It's not because you always want, we will be in Sierra Leone, and I had my daughter on my shoulder, always kind of keep him on my shoulder. And it was like, yo, keep the child. Somebody will snatch your child, right? So
they were like, don't carry her like that.
Don't carry her like that. Somebody will just run by and be gone. So, these things are in the back of my head as I travel with my children. But then it's like, now it's that plus the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
The unseen, right? So we're looking at people and how reckless they are, right? And trying to be hypersensitive to that. So that's an adjustment, just being like super sensitive, but not to the point where it's crippling you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's where I'm gonna follow up with is like, you guys were good at just kind of figuring out places to go and going there. Has your travel planning, since you're the planner, right? Has that just gone off the rails now that you have to like check for, do they need tests? Do they need vaccination requirements? Like for example, we were supposed to go to St. Lucia, and in order to get St. Lucia, you got to go through Trinidad and Tobago. Well, Tobago had shut
down.
So we couldn't even go on our trip. So like, what's that planning looking like? Since you're like the A-type, got to make sure everything
Well, I'm Czech. So when we went to St. Croix, and I like read that site like 35 times, because it's like you have to submit this stuff to the website. Then the website sends you an email, and then if you're clear, then you can go, but it has to be within this amount of time. And it's like, so it's just like a lot of reading and rereading. Like, do you need a test? Do you need your proof of vaccination? So it's honestly just like figuring out, what do you need? And do you have to, like, some places you can't even go because you have to quarantine for like 10 days. Right. And I'm like, well, we're not even going to be there that long. So it narrows down where you can actually go.
Yeah.
But there are and then that also kind of made me think about like places in the US, like exploring more of the United States or the US Virgin Islands, which is how we ended up at St. Croix, because, nowhere else, we couldn't really go anywhere. But luckily we have access to testing is pretty, easy, and vaccinated. So like those things are helpful. And now a lot of places are letting you kind of, go. But it's really just like researching what you need before you can go or before you buy your ticket.
And then being open to getting there and things just switching up, right? That's another part of it too. And I think we're really good at that because I think when we went to St. Croix, we was like, oh, what's going on here? You know, because it's like you don't know, you know the process of what they want, but you don't know how it's going to go down when you get there. So that's another part. Just
because we went to Jamaica and they literally changed the curfew on us while we were there.
Yeah,
they're like, luckily we were at a resort. Luckily we were at a resort, so everything we needed was there. But like, you know, Jamaica, like you want to go to Dumb River Falls. You also want to experience the nightlife to an extent.
Right.
But during the pandemic, I think Sundays you couldn't be on the street at 3:00.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Like 3:00.
And they're doing that a lot.
7 p.m. during the week. And so, you know, I mean, we went during their Independence Day.
Oh, wow.
Couldn't do nothing.
Couldn't do anything.
So you were there recently.
Yeah. We couldn't do nothing. And so it was just one of those where, you know, like it's a huge adjustment. Like we went to Aruba and it was a 10 p.m. curfew.
Yeah.
And we went
during New Year's. So they had extended on New Year's Eve. They extended it to 1 a.m.
Yep.
Okay.
But that only gave you enough time to ball drop all of that
and run back.
Try to call a cab to get back to the place
God.
where you were staying. And the cab drivers were shook. They were like, "We do not want that fine. We do not want that."
That's right. They have
Oh my goodness.
Getting adjusted. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So leave us with some tips. Tips as parents, tips as travelers, tips as parents that travel with their kids. You know what I mean?
Tips as a couple. He always forgets that this season is couples goals. So we got to talk about
people in front of me. It's almost a given.
Personal. This ain't got nothing to do. This is personal. It's like me.
His mind is on travel. My mind is on couple. We balance season out.
Well, that's why you're both there together. So you can
listen,
for the kids,
the
kids leave early. Cause I am like notorious for trying to get places like right before we have to be there. I'm like,
a lot of looking like I've experienced it.
We live close to JFK. It's so easy. I'm like, it's right there. It's like 7 minutes away. We don't have to rush. But when you have children, you have to leave early. You have to, like hours. And just sit in a lounge and wait. Because, you have to like break down the stroller, take all the stuff, put it in security. And then, the kids are having meltdowns.
Yeah, it's early or it's late or it's whatever. They just in a new space and place and they have to
So make sure you give yourself enough time.
Notice she said lounge. If you are able to get lounge access.
100%.
Not just sitting in the waiting area.
No, you can't.
It's like
access. You have to.
You know what's funny? And I'm going to sidebar real quick. When you taste a little bit different life, you're like, whoa.
It is a different experience. It's a different experience. I'm like, we can get to the airport early, whatever. We're going to sit down and drink and eat. And
so we're looking for lounges and all that stuff just to make sure that we're straight.
And the kids, they're comfortable.
Yeah, and they go in there and tear everything up. Destroy the place. So anyway, that's one thing that I think is very important.
Leave early, get lounge access. Make a list. Like, what do your children need? Do your children take medications? Like, and what can you buy there? Like, do you have to bring 3 bags of diapers, or can you bring 1 and then buy?
Or can you rent a stroller? Can you rent a bed? Can you do things like, do you need to bring sheets or just a pillow? And these things are, believe it or not, places are very up to par in terms of supporting, people who travel with children. So a lot of things you can get.
A lot of places have packing place where you just bring your own bedding, bring a lot of like Clorox wipes, Lysol to wipe down the furniture. If you're going to bring your own bedding. I mean, as couples too, I would say also planning too and knowing what your partner likes and what they don't like. Like if your partner is not somebody that likes to wake up early, don't plan a 7 a.m. excursion. Like, give people grace. Let them do what refills their cup.
Be patient as well.
Yeah. Because
there's always a part of the trip where there's like a question mark when it's for couples. It's like there's always that one moment and you're like, what are we doing? How? When? What am I wearing? Right? There's always one of those moments. So try to, I guess, be very clear because like things happen. Like myself, like I'm just kind of checked out most of the time. Yeah. So I'm just like, where we going? I mean, like I remember
this happened in Italy. I told him we were going hiking. He
I was
allegedly didn't hear me.
But she might have probably mentioned it.
I was like,
didn't tell me like we're going hiking,
so
right?
You know, on the trail, and it's like a legit like.
And I got some nice kicks on, you know.
And I'm like, you can't wear those.
I was like, yo, I was pissed.
So we had to buy hiking shoes like
on the road
there.
Yeah, and then I was like, all right.
I was like, I told you we were going. I know what's saying.
Right. Mind you, she got the whole, book bag. She's like, dry fit on. I got jeans. I'm chilling with the sneakers on. I'm thinking we're going to just kick it. I'm like, what the fuck? And we was like hiking. Like people had like hiking sticks.
If you can go Cinque Terre in Italy.
Oh my God. It was very hiked through 5 towns. So, yeah. Anyway. So that's the thing. So there's always those moments and try to think about why those moments happen because someone like me might not be listening, right? And I'll just take the L right now because we're on camera. So,
not because it's real.
But so just try to be like, hey, we're going hiking, right? You have your hiking shoes type. So I think those are the things that are very helpful, just kind of being over informative to a partner who might not necessarily be receptive to all things. So I'll say that as well.
Good advice.
Okay, awesome. And where are you guys going to next?
We were just talking about this.
We just was kind of talking about it right before this started. It's to Jamaica, right? And we're going for a friend's birthday.
Yeah, 40th birthday.
Right. And it's in the same month as my birthday. And I'm just like, right.
April 7th. Yeah, that's when's your birthday?
Oh, April 7th. Yeah. So.
Oh, you're Aries too. Paige is Aries.
I am.
That's why
I was the people.
Oh God. Jackie, right my condolences.
Listen.
My condolences, Jackie. Wait, so and I said to him, I'm like, well, it's not the same weekend as your birthday, so we can go somewhere else. But he's like, it's the same month. I'm like, okay.
And then on top of it, it's like we have 2 different types of traveling. This is like going into like another rabbit hole. So we have different types of ways of traveling, I should say. I think she's more of the outgoing type, but it comes to like just having the experience. And I'm more like meticulous in terms of like, I don't really want to do that. I would rather do this type. She's like, yeah, whatever. We out here. And I'm thinking about the trip in terms of like, what am I going to be doing there versus what I would like to be doing? Because it's like, I'm going to celebrate my birthday. And like, I'm trying to figure out like, how is this going to happen the same month? And she's like, we're going to figure it out. Like, we're going to just go this weekend or your birthday. And then I'm like, I don't see how this is happening. So it's still sharing.
But before that, I think I want to go visit my friend in Arizona. Nicole. She had a baby.
Yeah, I have some friends in Arizona as well, too. So, yeah, we're big on, I think the next trip, we probably ain't going nowhere no time soon, right? I don't think so.
Maybe February. I'm going to go to Arizona in February.
You see how I'm saying? I'm finding this out on film. First time I'm finding this out. This is how she's outgoing, but it's good, though, because, I'll go along for the ride in some cases. But we are traveling not far, but it's like a couple hours away. We're going to travel up north to Albany for Thanksgiving with the children. And we're already kind of mapping that out in our head. And something that's a small trip like that, we have to kind of like
plan.
Because now we have children who we went to Martha's Vineyard and, we was coming back and one of our daughters got car sick for the first time.
Wow.
And that was just like a disaster. So
How
these things are,
How old are your girls now?
The oldest will be 4 in January, and then the youngest is 2.5.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, we have a 2 and 3-year-old.
Thank you both for jumping on. This was definitely a great experience. You now have a best friend in Jackie and Alade.
I feel seen. She knows what it's like to love an Aries. And
yes, I do.
And maybe
it's a real thing.
Maybe we can plan a trip together.
Yeah. Oh, we should do that for real.
If it's real love that you want.